He is the football man of the Chicago Tribune, a longtime contributor to the station and a valued friend. Big Z!
Morning, Brad.
Morning, boys. What's going on?
Well, onward and upward, right? The Bears move on, and we now know it's 5:30 on Sunday night at the lakefront. The crowd will be on fire. The Bears playing the Rams. It was interesting to hear from Ben Johnson yesterday talking about Matthew Stafford and revealing his connection to him. I know his career, but I may have kind of had a little brain sprain about the time he spent with Stafford and really praising the toughness of the player. And certainly he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, this is a step up in class from Jordan Love in Game 1 of the playoffs.
Oh, no question about it. Stafford is a player who was really good for a long time in Detroit and has clearly elevated his ability with Sean McVay and the Rams now for a couple seasons. The guy, he's thrown for nearly 65,000 yards, 400 touchdown passes, more than he's had a heck of a career, and this has been one of his very best seasons. So the Bears are going to have to be dialed in. They're going to have to hope that it's very windy and difficult conditions Sunday evening for that ball game, and they've got to come up with a way to slow down a high-powered offense that when it's been clicking this season, the Rams haven't just won ball games; they've blown people out because they can score points quickly and they can score points in bunches.
Brad, let's look ahead to the Rams game. Looking back is fun, but now they move on. When you look at the left tackle position, Ozzie Trapilla, we know, out for the season. TJ Edwards at linebacker, out for the season. How do you feel, or how do the Bears feel about DeMarco Jackson coming in maybe to replace TJ Edwards? And what would be plan A at left tackle? Is it Theo Benedict, or is Braxton Jones in the mix?
Yeah, I think clearly they feel pretty good about DeMarco Jackson, and we're comfortable with him. And certainly they've got an idea of what they're going to get with him on the field, because TJ Edwards has had a variety of issues this season. It's kind of been a star-crossed year for him, one thing after another in terms of ailments. So Jackson's played plenty of football. As far as plan A at left tackle now with Trapillo to the sideline with that injury, it's clearly Theo Benedict to me. I believe he will get the start at left tackle, and then they've got Braxton Jones with another opportunity to get, 2 practices in this week. They're going to have a walkthrough tomorrow. He wants to keep the players fresh, healthy, so they can play fast. And Braxton practices a little bit more, and wouldn't be surprised then if he's returned to the 53-man roster. But I don't see them taking a guy that was benched at the end of the second quarter on September 28th in Las Vegas and having him practice 3-4 days and then come back and start left tackle against the LA Rams. We could talk about it, but you just look at that, and I don't think it makes sense. They've trusted Benedict out there to make 6-7 starts at the left tackle position throughout the course of the season. Most recently, right, in the season finale against the Lions. So it'll be Theo Benedict.
We were talking a little bit about special teams, Brad, particularly the advantage they could have in that area over the Rams. You know, the one when you have a lot of highly paid frontline players, you often can't afford the same kind of depth, and your special teams can be damaged from that, especially at Soldier Field. We know that Cairo Santos can play that ground as well as anyone. It seemed like he had his dirty kicks down. I guess, according to a texter, 3 games against the Pack, he was 8-8, 4 of 4 with the extra points, 8-8 with the field goals, onside kick, and he was taking part in a tackle of Josh Jacobs on Sunday. So we know they've got a few really good special teams players that can do some damage, like Josh Blackwell and Hardy and the linebacker they brought back. I just wonder if you feel like that could be an area where they could exploit a little. They had a really good game on Sunday.
Yeah, certainly they had a really good game Sunday. I thought Johnson was wise to point that out and kind of go over to a little bit yesterday and give some props to Richard Hightower, the special teams coordinator, who is deserving for the work they've done this season. Yeah, you would think that the Bears could have potentially some edges in the margins here in this ball game and ones that they can potentially exploit. Rams have got a younger kicker without a ton of experience in Hunter Mevis, so you don't know how he'll respond at Soldier Field. LA's have been fantastic in terms of kickoff coverage this season, probably one of the better units in the league. They have been hit for some longer punt returns. We saw Devin Duvernay have a really productive game against the Packers. He's kind of been steady all season. So, yeah, you would hope that would be an area, a phase that the Bears could turn a couple plays in their favor, because I think they're going to need them.
Brad, I think as we begin the deep dive into what the Rams are and how big the challenge is for the Bears, when you look at them on the surface or on tape or on paper, where do you believe the Bears might have the biggest advantage?
Biggest advantage for the Bears? I mean, if you're just talking X's and O's, they got to get the running game going. And that's been a little bit off here lately. Now, I can look at the last 3 ball games and come up with reasons for why maybe they weren't more committed to the run, in terms of trailing by 18 against Green Bay at halftime. The Lions had they had to go to a temp agency to find some guys to put in their secondary for that Week 18 game. And then out in San Francisco, the 49ers have just been getting shredded by opposing quarterbacks with no pass rush whatsoever. So, okay, maybe it stands to reason the running game isn't going to be the top order of business, but when they have done it, it hasn't been great. You need that to happen. If you're talking, ways they could find an edge at their belief. The quarterback's been damn good lately. They have been super resilient, and I think Sean McVay is a pretty bright guy, and if he's got a lead in the fourth quarter, he's probably going to realize that no lead is large enough against what Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams have been able to author here recently.
It's interesting to kind of look at the fact that you mentioned the running game hasn't quite been on. Why is that, Brad? What is it? Is it the combination blocking? Is there something that teams are picking up on with the Bears? Is it anything to do with they can still win at the line of scrimmage and get players jumping forward? You can get a 6-7 yard run. Is it the lack of explosive plays? Although there was certainly a pretty good one from Swift, or at least he had some good runs.
Yeah, I don't know that there's one common denominator for just the timing of the whole operation's been a little bit off. I know the Packers felt confident that they could play solid run defense against the Bears, and that was 2 weeks after Derrick Henry and the Ravens went for 300 on him. And you know what? The Packers went out there and played pretty good run defense against the Bears, and with the Bears' goal being to, possess the ball and stuff. So they wanted to run the ball against Green Bay, and that was a shortcoming area for the Bears. So they'll have to shore that up, and they're going to have to. That pass pro is going to have to be on, because the Rams' defense isn't great, but they have invested plenty and wisely in their defensive front. And you talk about sack differential, right? So the Rams, the sacks they've picked up, I think they're at 47 in the regular season. Sacks allowed, I think Stafford went down 23 times, so plus 24 in sack differential. They've got a couple really dangerous guys, Byron Young, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner. Like, they can get it done up front. So there's going to be a really big challenge for the Bears offensive line to handle keeping Caleb clean, because he got hit a bunch in that Packer game now, and opening some holes in the running game.
So I know you like to keep the focus where it should be, and the main thing. When you look at this game, as we continue to talk about it and break it down throughout the week, Brad, how much weight will you give the weather factor in that storyline? And do you think that the conditions will have an adverse effect on the Rams offense?
Well, people would love for that to be the case. It's going to be not fun weather to play football in, but if we're being
keep it real.
Yeah, if we're being real, Matthew Stafford's played in more crappy weather games than Caleb Williams has, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, Matthew Stafford's been around forever. Matthew Stafford it was like low 30s, 20-mile-an-hour wind, and I know we're gonna be looking at colder conditions Sunday night, but when you talk about it being extra nasty out, he threw for 520 at Lambeau Field earlier in his career. Now, it's been a while. It was 31 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds at Lambeau Field, and Matthew Stafford with the Lions threw for 520 yards and 5 touchdowns in a single game. I mean, it wasn't long ago for the Bears quarterback to get 520 yards passing. It would take a month. So we'll see. How does he react? How do the other players react? Is ball security a little bit of an issue? But listen, Bear weather's a great stat when the Bears have a good team. They do this year. They're playing a good team. When the Bears haven't been great, Bear weather is a phony stat. So we shall see.
I love it. How did the injured players, and I don't know if it's fair to call them that, but how did Rome Odunze and Kyler Gordon get through that game? How did they, we know who's lost, but Caleb even kind of turned an ankle in that game.
Yeah, well, Odunze had about 55 snaps. Like, he was out there a bunch.
More than I thought.
Yeah. And Kyler ended up with about 40 snaps, I want to say. The odd one there is Nick McLeod plays pretty much like the entire first 2 defensive series, and then pretty much disappears. Like, I didn't, and I don't know that we'll get an explanation for that, but Kyler was all right. Like, you saw him around the ball on a couple times. You saw him chasing a guy a couple times. Hey, let's be real. They're going to catch passes on cornerbacks, and it's going to happen with regularity. You just don't want to be giving up the big plays. But I think with both of those guys, you would be hopeful that, hey, they might be a little bit stronger, a little bit better the next time out.
One of the favorite things I heard yesterday was Drew Dahlman sharing with the audience that Case Keenum addressed the team during an offensive meeting or shared his perspective about coming back from emotional victories. And he was the author of the Minneapolis Miracle, which I think was 8 years ago tomorrow.
Wow.
And the Vikings beat the Saints with Stephon Diggs, and everyone remembers that. And just the mindset that is required to come back from an emotional victory like the Bears just experienced, Brad. And I know it's just an intangible thing, but I feel like you almost forget Case Keenum's part of this, and yet he must be respected to the point where his voice still carries or his perspective still matters. And to whatever degree that is important, I found that very interesting that they're relying on that or aware of the fact that a letdown might be inevitable, and they've got to try to avoid it.
Yeah, I brought that, or at least sort of referenced that idea. I think yesterday when I was on with you guys, it was such an emotional victory for everyone involved, and pointing out that they've been good at refocusing all season, but this was something different, right? Like this there was a different level, and for good reason, of emotion and all of that attached to that football game. So, is it a greater challenge to get it kind of back on the tracks? And I was actually talking with a guy yesterday who mentioned the Minneapolis Miracle and the letdown spot that the Vikings were in the following week when they played Philadelphia and they just got dragged by the Eagles. So is that a point that a handful of teams that won in wild card round weekend have to be mindful of? Like the Rams needed a touchdown with 38 seconds to play to escape Carolina with a victory. So does it apply a little bit to them as well? I don't know. I'm not around the Rams. Certainly, Rams Panthers doesn't evoke the kind of emotions that Bears Packers do, especially when the Bears have been trying to exercise demons for the last three and a half decades. But so probably smart for Keenum to mention that to teammates, a veteran voice that guys are going to listen to. And now, they've got to have a focus completely on the Rams and do what they've done so well all year, which is kind of pack that victory up in a box, seal it up, put it on the shelf, and you can go back and revisit it in the off season if you'd like.
Brad, the Rams defensive coordinator, of course, is Chris Shula. He is the son of David Shula, the grandson of Don Shula, and he began his coaching career as an assistant linebackers coach at Ball State in 2010.
Oh, my chirp.
Chirp. Yes.
There you go.
Thank you for making that reference. I was resisting it.
And I point to McVay and the Rams every time people have their irrational fear of the Bears losing assistant coaches. Like, my goodness, what'll happen when Luke Getsy gets a head coaching job because Justin Fields is playing well? And what's going to happen when Ben Johnson does well and people come hire the coaches? Like, if you're a young coach and you can get on board with Sean McVay, all he does is produce coordinators and head coaches. And the list it's incredible. Like, if you looked at the list of names of guys that have worked on McVay's staff with the Rams and gone on to bigger things, your first reaction would be McVay must be a fantastic coach. And your second reaction would be, I guess he's probably been the head coach there for like 25 or 30 years. There's so many guys. We know Sean McVay hasn't been there that long, but he develops players. He empowers coaches. He develops them. And Shula's a name that's hot. It's seemingly every 2 years, if not more quickly, there's a hot coach in L.A. that other people are looking at who has kind of come up through the ranks with Sean McVay.
I heard a rumor if LaFleur leaves the Packers, then they could hire his brother from the Rams. Yeah. Just kidding. All right, Big Z. Thanks,
Brad.
Buddy.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day, guys.
You too.